general procedure where that something goes from the circuit court to the Court of Appeals and then by discretion gets to the Supreme Court. There are, however, some exceptions to that where that the Supreme Court does get bypassed. And those are cases which are criminal matters where that a person has been convicted of a crime and his or her punishment is either the death penalty, life in prison, or confinement in prison for 20 years or more. In those rare instances, an appeal does not go to the Court of Appeals, but instead must go directly to the Supreme Court. In fact, any matters dealing with a death penalty case on appeal must go directly to the Supreme Court from the Circuit Court. The Supreme Court, when they do listen to the cases before them, they review the briefs and the presentations and then arrive at a decision, most of their cases are published. And that means that they write the opinions which state the position that the court has taken on the matter before them. And those cases are published so that other lawyers around the state can read those cases and determine by reading those cases what the status of law is on the various points of law that have been considered by the Kentucky Supreme Court. And if you will recall, I told you that the Court of Appeals could not change the law, that they were bound by the doctrine of stare decisis, which means that if there was precedent on a particular area of law, the Court of Appeals, nor the Circuit Court, nor the District Court can change that precedent. But the Kentucky Supreme Court, being the highest court in the land, not only has the authority to review cases for purposes of review on the record, but also has the right to change law and to change the policy as it pertains to the enforcement and implementation of laws throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And then when those decisions are made which result in a change in the law, the lower courts then come bound by the new precedent which is set by the Kentucky Supreme Court. So that's the purpose of the published opinions, is to keep lawyers and us judges on notice as to what the law is. The other function provided by the Supreme Court is that the Supreme Court establishes the rules of practice for the entire court system. That is an administrative role of the Kentucky Supreme Court. They provide the rules that we as judges go by, and they also provide the rules that lawyers must go by in the practice of law throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. When a person becomes licensed to practice law, he or she must have taken a bar examination and then must be approved by the Kentucky Supreme Court for practice throughout the state. Now, I realize that is probably a very quick overview of the court system as it works in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I have talked about the vital elements of the court system and the 4 different courts. One item that I have left out and saved to last, and it was on purpose, was a discussion about the Circuit Court Clerk's Office. Back in one of the first diagrams I showed you, I talked to you about the Circuit Court Clerk being responsible for the records that are compiled in District Court and Circuit Court. The Circuit Court Clerk certainly has more functions than that. One of those functions is to help provide information to the public about the court system. The pamphlet that I have here has been published by the Administrative Office of the Courts. It is called Your Key to the Kentucky Courts. This information, as well as information about serving on jury duty and other information about the court system, is provided to the public free of charge through the Circuit Clerk's Office. The Circuit Clerk is also the place where you go and get your driver's license, so I'm sure that all of you know where the Circuit Clerk's Office is and how to get there. But the Circuit Clerk is vital to all of us in the court system. They not only provide and maintain the records that get produced through the court system, but also provide the key personnel that are necessary to help keep the flow of things going in as orderly a fashion as is possible. I thank you for the time and opportunity I've had to discuss with you the court system and how it works in Kentucky. Thank you.